But that they know how to be a cheerleader suddenly makes them fit to be a manager.
Dan is a fantastic guy. I think that the problem was hard was the injuries, of course, but also the fact that he had difficulty to be in competition. He doesn't like training, yes, but listen, when you play every 3 days, it's not important to train. You are not able to train.
This guy, Eden Hazard, very, very famous for not practicing. He would just show up to game day and be man of the match.
Rely on his natural talents as it were.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, incredible natural talent, but hated the game. The game was a job.
Oh, so it wasn't even a spiritual enjoyment for him by that. Okay.
Yeah.
Always, or just when he joined this club?
I believe that legacy has followed him at least since Chelsea when he became a worldwide known player.
Yep.
I'm unfamiliar when he was playing in France, but
Okay.
I assume has always been like that. Yep. There's so many former teammate interviews that say exactly the same thing, and then you got the coach now also saying the same thing, but in a very different tone. They've all described him as lazy.
High intensity. You have to train high intensity in training when you are not playing. The fact that he played in Lille all the games and then he signed for Chelsea, he played fantastic for Chelsea.
Sorry, I'm not even sure it's a case of that he was out partying. You see lots of cases of footballers that once they expose to the money and they've got access to the infinite party lifestyle, that they get sucked into that.
Yeah, it could be just he was looking after the kids and just eating a bit more than he should.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
100%.
Yeah.
Chelsea. And then he had the injury. And when you are in Real Madrid and you have injury, you have to be back and to be competitive with the others. Because if you are not playing, there is another one that can play. And so I think he had difficulties to compete, to fight, to play.
In here, you got the context of you got an amazing player being brought into one of the best teams in the world that only tolerate success and winning. And he is not playing games. He gets injured, and then he can't work his way back into the team because he's not better than the backup player. Now, the problem is he's been brought in on, potentially world record transfer, making lots of money. He's still getting paid while he's not playing. So now you've got a situation where you've got a player that doesn't have the mentality to push themselves back in the team because the team is just a job. He's getting paid. Where's the motivation level? For the coach, you've got a problem because your star player who people pay to see, they've bought the jersey, is not part of the team. And then not only that, whatever transfer value you could do on sale has tanked, right? So you've got
Got a liability.
Yeah, you've got a liability. And then for the player, what do you do? Because you're getting, well, sure.
What's the motivator?
Yeah. Yep. So right now, let's go with the coach because I think that might be the easier conversation and say, okay, Carlo knows us. He's come. I don't know what to do about Eden. Right? What advice do we present?
Yeah, and look, the good thing with Carlo is he's reflected. He's identified the symptom. Okay, in which case, this guy doesn't have a competitive drive or desire to change this situation. So for me, what he needs to pivot and then understand is what values and physical reasons is driving that. Okay, because in that way he can understand motivations. One thing's a given. When you get the golden goose for no effort, the human brain naturally recognizes that situation and it's already a difficult situation to get out of.
Yeah.
And the only thing you can really talk to from there is someone's value set. And one way he could do that is extrapolate. Say, what's important to you? And he may say, look, I don't give a shit if, excuse my French, I don't care if the fans think I'm a loser. I don't care if the club suffers. I don't care about my reputation.
Yeah.
He may say all those things.
Yeah.
But then you've also got the responsibility to ask, so what do you care about? If we continue on the journey as is, what's going to happen is exactly like you said. You're going to limp away from here with no further success or standing in the community or whatnot. So what's important to you and how can I use that or how can we use that together to look at this? And look, potentially he may say, well, contractually, I'm just going to sit things out until you guys terminate me due to the fact that I've not played.
Yep.
And it could go that way too.
Yeah. In those type of discussions in my personal life, I've hated giving that information, at least first. I think from a negotiation point of view, it puts you in such a weak position. To me, that's very similar to if you're at a job interview and they ask you the money. You always need the company to give you the money range first.
Yeah. Yeah.
So what we're saying with the coach is you're fucked.
Well, you are because nowadays everyone, players and any job, they've read their contracts.
Yeah.
People know. Okay, I mean, there was a funny example from a company that I heard about. The team members knew the performance management guidelines. They knew how to game the system to do the bare minimum when they're on a performance plan.
Yeah.
And so, when you come into those situations, you just got to find ways to terminate contracts within the letter of the law as soon as you can, when you can, if you can't have that conversation to turn things around. The other option, which I'm 50-50 on, is the threat.
Nah, that doesn't work.
Exactly. It does. You just can't threaten people to change. And I don't think it's a good thing anyway. But so for me, really, I know you're saying it's potential, coming from a position of weakness, but the values is the main thing you can talk to, if you even want to broach this conversation. But I think he's fucked.
Where I work? Their team managers, they pride themselves on being people management. They focus on managing these type of situations. So they might not know what position Eden plays or how to make him kick a ball better, but that they know how to be a cheerleader suddenly makes them fit to be a manager. Now, I agree that in the system, so Carlo in this case would be the equivalent of like a VP or a GM. So he doesn't have to be the people motivator or cheerleader, but in his system, he needs to have a role that is assigned to being Eden's cheerleader.
Yeah, absolutely. And look, sometimes formally calling out the performance gap is a motivator for some people. It's not a threat. It's just a recognition of the situation.
I reckon in these type of situations, it gets really underhanded, and I reckon there'd be lots of contact under the table with family to find anybody that has some sort of emotional tie to the player, and that can influence them behind the scenes.
Oh, 100%. But that's that values piece I'm talking to, right?
Yeah.
I guess I was trying to generalize.
Values, I know. I think ultimately the company, you also have to be transparent that, okay, this two-way agreement has been a mistake for both parties. It is what it is. The problem we've got right now is we need to make money from your sale. It's unacceptable to not. And I think that's a position most players can reasonably, I'd like to think most players and people can reasonably accept.
I hope so.
And
especially with career longevity, how long do you want to be in the league for?
Yeah.
What are the termination clauses in your contract?
Yeah. Now, I've seen in some cases, there's one particular player that I can think of that was playing for Tottenham that, again, very high wages, something ridiculous like £300,000 a week.
Wow.
Didn't play for in 2 years or something like that. And, contractually, all they could do was wait for the contract to finish. And nobody wants a piece of him. This played out exactly how what you said the worst case is. So I've seen that happen. And I'd like to think of that example as the exception to the norm. And this now becomes a due diligence piece. And really, it's the team that made the recommendation to buy the player in the first place. I mean, that's where you got to point the finger at.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay, what about if you're Eden? I'm injured, I can't get back into the team, I'm constantly getting pressure from the club that I need to play. They're underhandedly talking to my family and friends. What do I do?
Well, this is where we go back to your previous video. You say, what do you think you could do to remedy this situation?
Yeah.
What do you think you could do and how can we help you?
Yeah, instead of why is this happening to me?
Yeah. And I think that's the beauty of that. It's universal.
Yeah.
What do you think you can do? And, When you're injured, it also impacts your psychology and all these different things, right? And it could even be, you take a couple of weeks break, just, go get some sun or, there's no one solution here, but I think to your points earlier, the what, have them engaged in that what conversation. Because I don't think anyone likes being told the why and the what. They want to feel part of the process, right?
Yeah.
Because it makes you just feel even shittier.
The other piece that I tend to part communicate in these situations, and it's because I've found it so profound, it is about something that's referred to as loss and gain mentality. And it's about your perspective. You're climbing the pyramids, you're 3/4 up, and you're absolutely exhausted, fatigued. You don't feel you can take another step. You look up, your neck's still cranked up. Okay, sun's beaming down, you've run out of water. A lot of people start going to get angry. Oh, I've got so much more to go.
Yep.
That's lost mentality. You're more concerned about what's there to come, what you don't have. Whereas the gain mentality is, wow, look how far I've come. Yep, run out of water. Yep, I'm puffed and tired, but I've come so far. It's only a little bit more of what I've already done. Now, you can apply that mindset to memories with people important to you that aren't around anymore, and lots of other cases as well.
Yeah, 100%. 100%. Look.
Now, I communicate that. Sorry, the reason I communicate that to people in these type of situations is because what is inevitable is change. And with change comes the human mindset to compare and therefore either gain or lose. And if I can get people shifted towards gaining instead of losing, people can navigate their change much easier, I've found, including myself.
No, I think that's an extremely important point. I do have an example of a physical manifestation of that. And this isn't a flex, but when I was doing the Everest Base Camp hike, which involved a 120-kilometre return round-trip hike from 2,600 metres at Edmund Hillary Nuclear Airport all the way to Everest Base Camp. If you looked up the mountain and saw the steps almost never ending, and you were in that lose mentality, it was a soul-crushing experience. And what I realised at the time when I was there is there's no way off this mountain. There's no going back. You can only acknowledge how far you've come, and you can only take one step at a time. And at that point, I realised that's not how I approached life up until that point. But I made a choice. Like you said, it was hot. You're running low on fluids. You have to get to the next stop to get fluids replenished. But all you can do is, you're going to continue one step at a time. You don't look at how many steps to go, and you don't consider, hey, I'm not getting off the mountain. You say, look, how far have I come? And so absolutely, I think, to use a physical example, I can relate to what you're saying.
Yeah. Yep. Then the next thought is, where am I going to shovel to sit down?
Oh, 100%. And do I need to have a glove? Is it going to be running?